Hi, this is William from the Wild Work Initiative, and I'm here today with my colleague Finbar. We're at Marmullane Park in Passage West, County Cork. So let's go into the park. We want to give out packets of wildflower seeds to members of the community that would like to sow mini wildflower meadows in their garden or at the school grounds or wherever that might be. We're going to create a mini meadow here at Marmullane Park that's going to act as a demo site for the project. Anyone that's interested in it, then hopefully we might get more wildflower seeds and give those out. And we hope that it'll get people talking about wildflowers and their value, people in the community chatting with each other, perhaps sharing pictures of what they've grown, and that it'll generally make people's gardens and other places prettier, as well as being very beneficial for wildlife. The wildflower seeds that we're growing, if you want to find out more information of them, you can go on to wildwork.ie. We have lots of pictures of the types of seeds that are included in the mix. The important thing to know about these wildflower seeds is that they are native Irish wildflower seeds designed by nature, and in each packet there are 15 or so different types of wildflower seed, and depending on where you sow the mix, you may get different types of species. But again, like I said, take a look on our website and you can see pictures of all the types of seeds which may grow in your garden if you get yourself a packet and sow some seed. So now we'll move on to showing you how to do the work. If marking out your site, it can be really useful to use a rope first. And you can set it out on the ground where you think you want to put your wildflower meadow. This is approximately 15 square meters of an area, and it gives you the chance, if you've got your measuring tape as well with you, to mess around where you would like to put it. So you can, what I mean is you can move the rope as needs be, and it's always well worth, don't just look at it up close, but come away from your site and have a good look. See what it looks like from all angles. That way you can get the best idea of how well your chosen location is going to work. So you'll notice that in marking out the areas for the wildflower seed, when we were using the rope, we put a nice curve into the little plot that we wanted to create. We're fans of curves. We can make things look a lot more natural, and it's a nice way for us also, without putting in too much effort, to link what we're doing with the design of the park itself already. So if you see behind me, there's a tar macadam pathway, and over to the right hand side, over here, the pathway runs in a straight line. And then if you look over on the other side, the pathway is curved. And that curving of the path makes it look a lot more interesting and pretty. The straight line part of it, of course, is appropriate also because it's running alongside the road. So we actually think whoever designed this park did quite a good job. But adding in a little curve into anything, if you're going to put wildflower plot in your garden, give it a little bit of shape and it just makes it look that bit better. So we decided we need to move our rope in a little bit, and now we've agreed on the area that we want to dig out to prepare the bed for the wildflower seed. And what we're doing is we're going to leave the rope in situ, and then Finbar here is starting off the first step. Using the shovel, he's just digging a line all along where the rope is. You know, in case the rope got moved or anything, at least we have our area marked out. And he'll follow the rope the whole way along. So while Finbar is actually marking out the line, he's also slightly digging up the sod, as you will see, because we're going to be lifting this. So you might as well begin to do that when you're doing the mark out line along the rope. Once the first line has been finished, we come along the amount you move in your spade will really depend on the time of year, because if the soil is softer, you know, in the early spring, you can take out bigger spadefuls, but right now it's just coming into early summer, so we're keeping quite a narrow strip. And Finbar is essentially, after moving in about 10 to 15 centimeters with a spade, and he is following the same line but in the opposite direction. And what will happen is he will be able to lift that soil, those sods out. See how it rakes back? In the next step, what we'll do is we'll actually need to slice somewhere along the sod. That enables us to be able to lift out the sod, as you will see. So what we might do is we'll roll it up now and we'll just put it aside on the other side of the rope for now. We're going to use that again later. What Finbar has moved on to now is the next step, which is where we run a pickaxe. Again, you can get away with using a shovel for this. Pickaxe is a bit better. And he's loosening up the soil that was underneath the sod. The next step then is we're going to dig that out so that we can place the sod we had stripped back into the trench upside down. You'll see that in the next step. In terms of the pickaxe, we have two types. You'll notice that all the tools we're using for this job are handheld implements. That's because we could go and hire or buy fancy machinery, but tools are like these are ones that people have ready to hand. So you can get either type of a pick. That's a standard pickaxe that Finbar is using, and it has two different ends on it. The pointy end and the not so pointy end. It depends on the actual job which end of it you would like to use, but you'll get a feel for it as you're digging the soil. If you're doing something physical, it's a little bit hard. Well, you won't be long learning the easy way to do it. The other pick over here is actually what we call a grubber. And the grubber can be used as well. This is actually a type of a pick that we often use for making nesting sites for solitary bees. But both pieces of equipment are usable, and if you don't have them, you can still make do with your spade or your shovel. So we're starting to move along, and as we continue with the job, eventually we'll have all the lawn overturned. We're now onto the second layer of it. What you can see here, this bit, it's topsoil on the top, and there's upside down sod on the bottom. So we've taken the sods and we've put them down on the ground and we've covered them over with soil. What I've just done there won't work. What you need to do first, after you've taken the soil out, the sod off, I should say, sorry, is you need to excavate some soil, and you need to turn the soil over onto the side. Then you can put the sod in and cover it with soil. We'll show you now. So here in front of us we have a section now that is all completed. Soil has been covered over. And you'll see as I move along, here's the trench that we've dug out. As we've dug, we've put the sod on top of the next piece of sod we're going to dig, and we've put the soil that we dug out after that on top of the previous soil area covered over. So it's nice to keep the sod with the sod and the soil with the soil. Just a neater way of doing the job. So what we've done here underneath me now is the sod that was there just on the left, we've put it into the trench and we've covered it over with the soil that had been there. Nice neat job, and we keep working along. One of the nice things about this work is that some friends from nature might visit you while it's going on. Here's a blackbird looking for some juicy worms. Not taking too much notice of us. In this other area, it's a little bit different than the first spot. There's a really shallow depth of soil. Particularly along by the wall, there's little or no soil in places. Like down here. So what we've actually been doing, if you see on the outside, just by the colour of the soil alone, it's a lot richer than in here. So there's little or no soil there, and what Finbar has in his hands, you just see how thin the sod is. So we're going to take a slightly different approach here, and this is also something you could do perhaps in an abandoned flower bed or somewhere where there's basically not a thick heavy sod of lawn. We've been using the grubber to hack over the really shallow bits. And it can be quite quick. It's just a different approach that may suit your site. Particularly in on the inside of the wall where there's very little soil, the grubber is very effective at scraping back what is there. This can also be done with the shovel. But it's a good example of a job that a tool such as this is ideal for. So now we have the whole area dug over, covered with the soil, using the methods we've just shown you. What Finbar is doing here is he's just raking over everything, taking out the last few stones and getting the soil into what we call a nice fine tilt. So it'll be really nice for the wildflower seed. Picking up the stones into a bucket, we're putting them into our wheelbarrow, and you can get creative with the old stone and use it to make something else. We're going to find a suitable location to put a little stone pile, and that, especially if that's in a sunny place by a wall, somewhere like that, it can create a nice habitat for spiders and other insects. So the area now is ready for sowing the wildflower seed in once Finbar has finished the final rake over. Now we have our demo area fully prepared. For the project, we decided to place a wildflower area at either side of the entrance, underneath the plastered wall you can see in the background. So I'm going to go up to Finbar now, and we're going to show you about sowing the seed. If you order wildflower seed, or if you get some wildflower seed packets, you will get a certain amount of seed, and usually it comes in square meters, so to cover a certain amount of square meters on the ground. The wildflower seed packet that Finbar is holding has enough in it to cover an area of approximately 3 square meters, and we've marked out on the ground just to show you what 3 square meters looks like. So Finbar is standing within an area inside the tape that's 3 square meters in size. Some people are quite good at judging what a square meter is. They don't need to measure something out, but if you're uncertain, it's easy to get out the measuring tape and just mark out the area. Wildflower seed is very easy to sow, but if it's your first time doing it, there is a little risk that you could put out too much seed and end up not having enough to cover your entire area. So a little tip that we advise is that you might first pour out about half of the seed into the palm of your hand. Then you can put the packet of seed somewhere safe, so that it won't spill anywhere. And now Finbar is going to broadcast the seed over the area really lightly, spreading it with his fingers. He's going to attempt to evenly cover the entire 3 square meters with the amount of seed that he has in his hand. It's a little bit windy here today, so that's why Finbar is bending down low where he's gone onto his knees, because he doesn't want the seed to blow away in the wind over onto the lawn. And he's being extra careful, certainly more careful than you would be if you were sowing it in a larger area, because in the larger area there's less of a concern of the seed blowing where you don't want it to. So there you see now, Finbar has about 2/3 of it now covered. And what he's going to do next is he's going to repeat the process. So what he will have done is he will have covered the whole area twice, using approximately half of the seed each time. That we find is the best way to ensure you get a nice even distribution. So for those of you wondering about sowing seed on a slightly larger scale, you can do it actually quite quickly. when someone is used to sowing wildflower seed, it's very, very easy and very, very quick. So Finbar is going to go back over the area he's just sown earlier using the method we advise to beginners, and he'll show you how he does it when he's doing it on a bigger job. Off you go, Finbar. He's keeping his hand quite low to the ground today, again because of the wind. It may not be necessary to do that if it's a lovely calm day. And he's done. Good job, Finbar. So what we will do next is we will water in the seed. You do not have to do that, but it is advisable in case, again, this is a very windy day, so in case any of the seed might blow away. But that, again, is not that much of a risk. We're just making sure we're giving it the best chance. Wildflower seed does not need to be raked in. You can do it, but you don't really need to, because unlike a lot of other seeds, the wildflowers have these tiny little barbs on them which you cannot see, and the seed actually clings to the soil itself. That is job done, but just to be sure we're going, and because it's a small area, we are going to give the seed a watering in today. So you'll have a choice of the type of places you can sow your wildflower seed. You can convert some of your lawn over to wildflower seed by digging it over. You can sow seed in an abandoned flower bed that you're wondering what you might do with it. You can also sow the seed in pots. That allows you to grow them anywhere. Even if you live in an apartment that you may not have a garden, you can put them in a pot on the window. So the one thing we will say is if you are putting wildflower seed into a pot, well then putting them in the shade might be advisable, otherwise you do need to keep on top of the watering. As you will see here, we have two different pots. These were sown by local youth group actually, and unfortunately due to COVID-19 they were not able to water these during the spring. And it was a really nice project because they actually, instead of going out and purchasing new pots, they recycled old materials. So this is an old locker, wooden locker, and this is some sort of an old basket that was for holding, I don't know, but this plastic basket, you see there's a lot of holes in it, so it doesn't hold the water, whereas the locker does. And the difference between the one that could hold the water and the one that couldn't is very obvious, isn't it? These flowers are all dead, whereas this one still has the beautiful oxeye daisies in it. So it's just a point of note. If you do want to sow them in a pot, that's absolutely fine. You could do it at any time of the year, but just make sure that if it's in a very sunny location, you keep it watered. The wildflower seeds can be sown in a number of different types of locations, depending on soil type or available sunlight, moisture levels, so on. The mix that we're providing people with for this project is a good all-rounder mix that will work fairly good in most places. This time of year we're sowing seed is actually moving towards June. It's getting a little bit late when things are starting to heat up. It's worth considering that you may need to water them a little bit.
So here we are, we finished our project for today. The seed is in there, it's watered just in case it doesn't rain. Looks like that's not going to be a problem. So this project and a lot of other projects that Wildwork are involved in are in support of the All Ireland Pollinator Plan. You don't have to go to this sort of level. It's been physical work but enjoyable. If you've got an old flower bed that maybe hasn't had a bit of tender loving care for quite some time, or a bit of gravel that you could add some soil to, you can sow wildflower seed there. If you're living in an apartment or anywhere else, you can sow wildflower seed in a flower pot. So you can try all those methods, or really something as simple as changing the way you manage your lawn if you've got a garden. Mow less frequently, and when you do mow, take away the clippings because it reduces nutrients in the soil. So you'll get plants coming through. Clovers, for example, we've got red or white clover here. We've got buttercups down low, daisies. Over here you can see there are dandelions coming through, which is a great resource for pollinators, and white clover as well. It looks really pretty and it's really useful for pollinators for providing food for them. So if you want to find out more about the All Ireland Pollinator Plan and find out some really great resources, to help you help pollinators, go to pollinators.ie, or you can get in contact with us anytime at wildwork.ie.
So now it's time for us to go home after a hard day's work. It's been a pleasure for me and Finbar working in Passage today at Marmullane Park, and we hope you've enjoyed our video. For anyone from Passage, or anywhere else for that matter, who decides to go and sow some wildflower seeds, we hope that that works out really good for you and that you really enjoy the experience and get some beautiful flowers. There's so much more you can do with that down the line. There's more we didn't touch on today, like managing the wildflowers going forward, or saving some seed and sowing some more. But you can learn about that perhaps in another video or by getting in touch with us at Wildwork. Thanks for watching the video. One final ask we would have of the viewers is that you would share this with others and help spread the message that we're trying to spread out there about helping people, help nature, help people. So that's us from Wildwork. Bye bye for now.